Good morning, I'm Robert Tan. Let's unlock the tricks of the trade, get to know the brilliant minds who changed their industries and created innovations that continue to influence lives. Be inspired here on Trade Talks, My Milyonaryo. Not every entrepreneur starts from scratch, but the real test, choosing to build something real even when you don't have to. Today's guest was born into legacy but chose flavor over finance and grit over shortcuts. He didn't ride the name, he created a brand from the grill up. He wrote market reports, tested cigars, and even worked the trading floor, but it was shawarma wrapped in integrity, quality, and heart that truly defines his career. From one freezer and one oven to becoming a weekend market favorite and beyond, let's unwrap the story behind Rafik Shawarma and meet the man who built it, Miguel Ongpin. Good morning, Miguel.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to the show.
Thank
Thanks
you
for joining us
having
this morning. Okay, Miguel, let's start with this. You've lived many professional lives, from newspapers to finance to cigars. Now, what parts of that earlier journey helped shape the discipline and thinking behind how you run Rafik Shawarma today?
Well, two things really come to mind when I began in the Philippine Stock Exchange. You know, you have to be on time, you have to deliver your deliverables. And what stays in my mind about when I worked with Tabacalera is really the actions of other people. When it was explained to me that the cigar tobacco community worldwide is actually very small. So what happens is if somebody sends you a sample, because we were a cigar factory, that sample has to be completely legit. In other words, if you pay for that sample, the supplier must sell you, must deliver to you exactly the same thing.
So you bring that kind of professionalism and standard here in Rafik Shawarma.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our standards are non-negotiable.
That's very good to hear. Now, Miguel, you do come from one of the most recognizable business families in the country. Now, how did that legacy shape your challenge, your personal entrepreneurial path? Did it come with any pressure?
No, actually, no, because truth be told, I have an elder sister who was making children's clothing and selling before she graduated from college. So that, in a sense, isn't really new. And I have also her and another brother. They have become foodies as well, as they are selling paella.
Because usually, traditionally, if you have a family with that businesses like that, usually it's the pressure is to take over the business and all that.
It depends on I guess our individual paths, because in my immediate family, including some of my cousins, we did work for family at one point or another. Yes, many of us did. Yes.
Now, how did that feel now, moving from that and going at it on your own?
It was not very different. I think, in my case, shawarma sort of found me. So it became my niche and my passion. And I had many ideas and things that I wanted to try. So it came to me.
So it led
somewhat,
to that.
Yes, somewhat naturally.
You said shawarma found you. Now, where and when did your first encounter with shawarma happen? And did someone introduce it to you, or was it? Did it just happen and fell on your lap?
That's a very good question. In a way, it fell into my lap. But from my observations when I was in high school, the first shawarma I saw was in a Rustan supermarket in Makati.
This was when?
Oh man, this was
80s or 90s?
This would have to be late 80s.
Late 80s.
I was home here in Manila from from high school in the USA. And so that was my first, wow, what's that? It's from Saudi Arabia. And later on, I would see it because I grew up in Green Hills, near Green Hills, so I would see it in Unimart. But in both of these places, sadly, I was in a hurry. I was really just passing by. I had to do something. It wasn't until really the mid-90s when a friend of mine actually, I got into his car and we joyrided around Manila, and right on a sidewalk, I'm trying to think, it's a southbound sidewalk, Blue Ridge, Katipunan.
Here, just near Quezon City.
Right there on the sidewalk, he had a shawarma stand. And as I've said, I've written, I still wonder today whether his garlic sauce is better than mine. And so that's when hey, try this. And I said, okay. And it was revolutionary. It was a flavor epiphany to me, because I said, wow, I really like this.
So that really sparked the start.
That was my
search.
That was my physical introduction to shawarma. Yes.
What did that experience feel like during that time when you went to your friend's store, as compared to when you first experienced it in the late 80s?
No. This story was my first.
That was the first.
Yes,
The very
I had
first.
only seen it
You
previously.
saw it before.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now, again, as I've mentioned or written previously, there was a bubble. It was very tragic in the late 90s when I don't know. Maybe there were too many, and it kind of went. Shawarma kind of went bust in Metro Manila, and many good places that I tasted and remembered simply disappeared. And then what was the replacement, or what stayed, or was not very good beef. A lot of times it was sweet. And so I would actually have to go to, I lived in Mandaluyong. I would go all the way to Romero Salas in Malate just to get
shawarma.
Good shawarma, and or Walmart here in Makati, somewhat near Pasay Road. Yeah.
So now, what made you think now that you've been going to these far locations to get your shawarma? When did you think, at that point in time in your journey, I want to start my own?
Another very good question. It's when I started working in newspapers. So the practicality of going to work was better for me if you commuted. Okay, because sometimes there wasn't always a place to park, or it wasn't safe. So I commuted, and when I commuted, I passed by, a lot of shawarma stands. And what would happen is you would buy these things, and while eating it, well, this is good, but I wish it was bigger.
Better or bigger.
Or this is good, but I wish they had, better pita bread. So what happened is, unconsciously, I was collecting these ideas of, there's this, that, and the other thing that's not working with this shawarma. So I had this idea. I created subconsciously this idea in my head about
you want to do it on your
what
own.
a good shawarma should be. And truth be told, okay, the large size of what we sell today, that was my intention. That I never really, I was sort of forced because of price points to sell a smaller one.
A little smaller.
But really, I really just wanted
Now
one
let's
size,
go
and
back.
that's a
You
large
mentioned that you launched with 100,000 pesos, one shawarma oven. Was this from your own savings? And looking back, what were the biggest challenges you had to navigate to stretch your capital and survive those early days in your business?
Okay, 2 points I'd like to make. No, I'm not self-made. But the other point is when we decided to do this, we were already selling pizza in Salcedo and Legazpi Market, and like so many other vendors there who had let's say, a modicum of success, there wasn't really much you needed to add to start shawarma. But like that point I made to you before, at the time, I think a good shawarma oven, maybe that was 25,000 for a really good one. At that time, that's long ago. That's about 2007. So I think, prices are higher now, but it was not a lot of money, no.
Okay, Miguel, we still have much to discuss about your journey. That's philosophy in every layer. But when we come back, we'll talk about family dynamics, milestones, and the ₱1,000,000 moment. You're watching Trade Talks, my Milyonaryo. Welcome back to Trade Talks. We continue our conversation with Miguel Ongpin. He's the owner of Rafik Shawarma. Okay, Miguel, you chose high-end ingredients with your shawarma, like starting with Wagyu, Brazilian beef, Persian pita. Now, why take the high standard route, and how do you make that work in a market quite sensitive to price?
Okay, Wagyu has a unique story to it because we were invited for a very small dinner. It was just us and the owner of the house. And they asked us to bring pizza and the shawarma, which we were doing at the time. And they loved it so much. They also own a Wagyu cattle ranch. And then we were asked, if I gave you Wagyu, could you make Wagyu shawarma?
It's quite expensive.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, sure, we'll marinate that. And so that happened. We were asked to do, we catered for their corporate events. And that really took off in a very dramatic way, to the point that okay, call time will be, 5 p.m., but at 4:30 people were showing up. Is it cooked yet? So
it was a big hit.
Yes. And the other thing with the Brazilian beef is this is actually quite common in the food industry, but in our case, we bump up the quality because we're not really a mass market product. We try to be as affordable as possible. But
of course, if you use Wagyu or Brazilian beef, it has that.
Wagyu is confined to the Salcedo and Legazpi markets.
You mentioned you use different ingredients in the Salcedo and Legazpi market.
That's just where Wagyu is available.
And your food truck
is where we use the Brazilian beef. Yes.
What's the difference? What kind of price point, let's say if I wanted to order a Wagyu shawarma today as compared to a Brazilian shawarma?
A Wagyu shawarma in Legazpi and Salcedo markets, large wrap, is 300 pesos.
Oh.
In our food truck, large beef wrap is 200 pesos.
200. What's the difference in terms of, let's say, taste of a Brazilian beef and Wagyu?
Wagyu has fat marbling. So there's a lot more fat and flavor in that particular shawarma. So yes, it's quite dramatic.
So when you started selling shawarma in Legazpi and Salcedo and also your food truck, what were the first impressions? What were the feedbacks that were given back to you by your customers, and how did that feel?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I'm going to bring up some unfortunate memories. Anyway, this is my observation from that period of early shawarma and when it went bust, there were some somewhat unscrupulous people who were crimping the pita bread in front of the customer and then adding the beef to make it look like there was a lot of beef and then wrapping it. So remember, we were selling Wagyu and it was not cheap.
Yes.
So there would be some people who were saying, "Oh, you add more like this," because they thought we were crimping it. And then there were complaints about paying. It wasn't quite 300 pesos then.
At that time.
This is many years ago. It's 18 years ago. But most memorable in Salcedo Market was how there was this complaint. Wow, it's so expensive, and then they would buy one and eat while walking around Salcedo Market. And by the time they did one round and came back to where our stall was, they bought another.
They bought another one.
And that happened. That happened more than once. That happened a lot.
How did that make you feel?
Well, extremely fulfilled and quite flattered. Another memorable experience, which I'll never forget. There was a young man from Saudi Arabia who looked almost exactly like a young Sean Penn. If you saw Sean Penn in his early acting career, and he actually told us that this is the best shawarma he's ever eaten.
Now, Miguel, looking back, what was the best advice you were given during your journey here in building your shawarma business? And also, how did that affect you? And how did it feel when you earned your first million in this business?
Well, I don't know about first million, but we'll get to that. Now that you bring this up in relation with shawarma, I have another friend who is a mutual friend with my Persian baker. This guy I have known since the end of my high school. And I just remember this was way before Ondoy, maybe 2 or 3 years before Ondoy. But what happened to him was terrible. It was December and the Marikina River, the river in Marikina overflowed and he lost everything.
Everything.
He lost, I think,
What,
200,000,
Wow.
something like that. And but he was adamant. And he said, "You know what? Never give up."
Never give up.
And I've never forgotten that.
And that stuck with you.
That stuck with me.
And now, looking ahead, Miguel, what's the big picture now for Rafik Shawarma? Are you building towards expansion, legacy, or something else that defines your success on your own terms?
Well, expansion, definitely. But we'd like to do it organically. We'd like
You
to...
don't like franchise?
Because that's difficult to control with the non-negotiable standards.
The quality.
That I mentioned earlier, because it's our brand, it's our reputation. And if you get a franchisee and you're not controlling the operations, those people might not be as concerned, or in my case,
It might hurt your
obsessed
brand. Yes.
with the quality that we are. So we'd like to expand in an organic way. The difficult part is finding the location, where
they always say
this
location
actually,
is always the best.
because unfortunately, we're not a mass market product. We are a lot more expensive than the next.
And finally, Miguel, where can our viewers find your shawarma?
Okay, our food truck is on the southbound SLEX Caltex. That's after the Mamplasan and before Santa Rosa exits. And on the weekend in Makati, we're in the Saturday Salcedo Market and Sunday Legazpi Market.
Nice. We're getting hungry. Thank you, Miguel, for joining us. Thank you for taking time and sharing your journey. Great inspiration to those watching who want to start this kind of business. And I like what you said. You don't want to go franchising first because you really want to keep the quality in-house.
Yes, absolutely.
And professionalism on that part, which was your mindset in the beginning. Thank you for joining us, Miguel.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. And that's the show today. Catch us again on Trade Talks My Milyonaryo for inspiring stories like these of entrepreneurs and innovators and the secrets to their success. I'm Robert Tan. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.